Okay, let's start. So the name of the course is Introduction to Algebra for Math Competitions, and this is the second week. And I'm your instructor, Shreyas Shrivastava. If you have any questions, please message me in the message box or email me at Shreyas Shrivastava at shreyashrivastava@alphademic.org. Please keep your mic muted. After each topic, I'll present some questions to test your understanding and then discuss the solutions. For those who find the questions too easy, there will be some challenge questions in the end. Most importantly, have fun. I'll try my best to make the class fun and understandable, but I'm not perfect. So if you see any mistakes, feel free to point them out. And you can review the session at Alphademic's YouTube channel. So the topics for this week are multivariable linear equations, ratios and percents, proportions, graphing lines, and then we'll go into some challenge questions. And this lesson was prepared with the help of the Introduction to Algebra book from AOPS. Okay, so multivariable linear equations have two or more variables. When you're asked to solve these multivariable equations, most chances will give your answer as an ordered pair. So for example, if you want to solve the equation 2x minus 3y is equal to 7, one solution would be x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 1, because 5 times 2 minus 3 times 1 is equal to 7. And you would write your solution as an ordered pair, which is written as like x comma y with parentheses. So your solution would be 5 comma 1. And if you're given this equation, there would be many ordered pairs that would satisfy this. There's many other solutions. And if you're given two variables x comma y and two equations, say 2x plus 3y is equal to 10 and x plus 2y is equal to 8, there would only be one solution to this. To determine this solution, you could do trial and error to solve it, which is not advised, or you could use a more systematic approach to solve them, which we'll go over now. So first, there's substitution. This technique requires you to solve the equation in terms of another variable and then substitute that into the second equation to finally get your answer. This is typically the slower method, but I'll still go over it. So like, here's your two equations. X plus 3y is equal to 4 and negative 2x plus 5y is equal to negative 30. And you're asked to find x and y that satisfy both equations. So what you do is you write x is equal to 4 minus 3y and you plug x is equal to 4 minus 3y into the second equation. So you're going to get negative 2 times 4 minus 3y plus 5y is equal to negative 30. Or negative 8 plus 6y plus 5y is equal to negative 30. And then you get y is equal to negative 2. And then you can solve and get x is equal to 10. So that's the substitution method. Another way is elimination. This requires you to add the two equations so that there's only one variable left and you can easily solve it then. This is kind of the better method. So like if you're given two equations, 2x plus 3y is equal to negative 11 and 5x minus 3y is equal to 67, and you're asked find x and y that satisfy the equation. You can simply just add to both of the equations and you're going to get 7x is equal to 56, or x is equal to 8 and y is equal to negative 9. Okay, this is a little more tricky for elimination. So your two equations are 4x minus 7y is equal to 13 and 2x plus 3y is equal to negative 5. And you're asked to find x and y that satisfy the equations. So what you do is you multiply this equation by 3. Wait, I meant to write. You can multiply this equation by 3 and this by 7. But another way you can do is you can multiply this equation by negative 2. Simply just multiply this equation by negative 2. And you're going to get negative 4x minus 6y is equal to 10. And then if you add both this equation and this equation, you're going to get negative 13y is equal to 23. So y is equal to negative 23 over 13 and x is equal to 2 over 13. The elimination, we already talked about this, but the elimination technique is the better technique to use, mainly in competition math because of the time save. Okay, so there's three main possibilities you can get when you're solving the equations. So if you add the two equations and you get the statement like 4 is equal to 1 or something like that, then the system of equations has no solution. And if you, as we saw before, if we get something like with the elimination, where you get like 11y is equal to 66 or something, then there's only one solution. And if you combine the two equations and you get 0 is equal to 0, then you have infinitely many solutions. Okay, so these are linear equations in disguise. So the question here is 3 over x minus 2 over y is equal to negative 7 over 2, and 6 over x plus 4 over y is equal to 9. And you're asked find all pairs of x and y that satisfy both equations. So if we let 3 over x equal a and 2 over y equal b, then this just becomes a minus b is equal to negative 7 over 2. And then this becomes 2a plus 2b is equal to 9. And when you solve it, you can multiply the first equation by 2, and then you're just going to get 2a minus 2b is equal to negative 7, and 2a plus 2b is equal to 9. Now, if you add both equations, you're going to get 4a is equal to 2, so a is equal to half, and then you're going to get b is equal to 4. And since 3 over x is equal to a, and that's half, then we could say that x is equal to 6. And since b is equal to 4, and 2 over y is equal to b, then we're going to get y is equal to half. So that was also that was a tricky problem, but it was just linear equations. Right, if you have 3 or more variables, the same technique applies, but they are simply more tedious. Another way to do them is known as the Gaussian elimination technique. I won't really teach it as it's pretty complicated, but if you're pretty curious, you can check it out here. I'll link the presentation later so you can check it out. Okay, here's some practice questions. I'll give you guys 1 minute to work on them. Okay, let's go over them. Okay, so this is problem number 1. It says solve for x and y such that 3x minus 4y is equal to 26 and 5x plus 8y is equal to 3. So you can multiply this equation by 2 and you're going to get 6x minus 8y is equal to 52. And this equation is 5x plus 8y is equal to 3. Wait, that should be y. Alright, so now you add both the equations and you get 11x is equal to 55. So x is equal to 5. And you can plug this back into this equation and you're going to get 25 plus 8y is equal to 3. So you're going to get 8y is equal to negative 22. So y is just negative 11 over 4. So that's our answer. Okay, so this one says find C such that the system of equations has no solutions to x comma y for 3x minus 5y is equal to negative 2.3 and 6x minus cy is equal to 9.3. So remember how we talked about how if a system of equations has no solutions, then you're going to get some sort of statement like 4 is equal to 1 or 2 is equal to 0, something like that. So what we want to do is, if we multiply this equation by 2, you're going to notice that it's 6x minus 10y is equal to negative 4.6. And you know 6x minus cy is equal to 9.3. So if c is equal to 10, then you're going to get 6x minus 10y is negative 4.6, and 6x minus 10y is equal to 9.3, which is not possible. So c has to be equal to 10. Okay, so this question says find x over y if x plus 1 over y, it's x plus 1 in parentheses. Sorry about that. No, it's not parentheses. X plus 1 over y is equal to 4, and y plus 1 over x is equal to 1/4. So if you add the two fractions, you're going to get x, y plus 1 over y is equal to 4. And then you're also going to get xy plus 1 over x is equal to 1 over 4. And if you cross multiply, you're going to get 4y is equal to xy plus 1, and x over 4 is equal to xy plus 1. So both of those have to be equal. So 4y is equal to x over 4. So now you just want to find x over y. So you can just write, you can say that x is equal to 16y. If you cross multiply, x is equal to 16y. So 16y over y is just 16. So our answer is 16. Okay, so the ratio of two quantities tells us the relative sizes of the quantities. For example, if we say the ratio of the number of students to teachers in a school is 20:1, you write it as, 20:1 or with a colon there, then there are 20 students in the school for every one teacher. Okay, so here's an example question you'll probably see. So it says the ratio of boys to girls in a math class is 3:4, and there are 84 kids in the class. So how many girls are there? So if you let the number of boys in the class be 3x, then the number of girls in the class has to be 4x, since the ratio is 3:4. So then you're going to get 3x plus 4x is equal to 84, or 7x is equal to 84, so x is equal to 12. And since the number of girls, it's supposed to say times 4. So since the number of girls in the class was 4x, so it's supposed to be 12 times 4, which is 48, not 36. So 48 girls are in the class. Okay, so this is a little bit harder for ratios. So it says Vlatko has a bag that holds only red and blue balls. The ratio of red balls to the total number of marbles in the bag is 2/5, or 2:5. If Vlatko adds 4 red marbles and takes out 10 blue marbles, there will be twice as many red marbles in the bag as blue marbles. How many marbles were in the original bag? So if you let the number of red marbles be 2x, then the total number of marbles has to be 5x. And since there's only red and blue balls, the number of blue marbles will be 3x. And if you add 4 red marbles, it's going to become 2x plus 4 for red marbles. And if you take out 10 blue marbles, it's going to become 3x minus 10. So 2x plus 4 has to be equal to 2 times 3x minus 10. So you're going to get 4x is 24, or x is equal to 6. So it's asking how many marbles were in the original bag. And the number of marbles in the original bag were 5x. So 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, so percents mean per 100. So if we say 1 is 10% of 10, 1 is 10% of 10 because 10% is 10 over 100. That's what it means by per 100 divided by 100, or 1/10 of 10, so 1. We use this symbol to denote percent. Percents are pretty similar to ratios. So when you increase a number by a certain percent, you add the original number to the percent of the number. So what I mean by this is, if you're asked increase 24 by 75%, then you do 24 plus 3/4 of 24, because 75% is 75 over 100, or 3/4. So it's just going to become 24 plus 18, or 42. Okay, here's a percentage problem. Dr. Math has 180 milliliters of solution that is 20% acid. How many milliliters of this solution must be replaced with pure acid to have a solution that is 30% acid? So before we replace any of the solution, there's going to be 20% of 180 milliliters grams of acid. And 20% of 180 is 20 over 100 times 180, or 180 over 5, which is 36 grams. So we have 36 grams of acid. And if we assume we replace X amount, X milliliters of the acid, X grams, then we reduce the amount of acid by 0.2x, and we gain X grams of acid. So we have 36 plus 0.8x, because minus 0.2x, plus x. And we also have 180 milliliters of solution. So it's going to be 36 plus 0.8x over 180, which is going to be equal to 3 over 10, since it's 30% acid. So we get x is equal to 180 over 8, or 22.5 milliliters. So that's how much we replace. Okay, here's some practice problems. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to work on them. Okay, let's discuss them. So for the first problem, it says how many minutes are there in 20% of a day? So in a day, there's 24 hours, and in an hour, there's 60 minutes. So that's how many minutes there are in a day. And then if you're taking 20%, so you're multiplying by 20 over 100, which is just 1/5. So this just becomes 1 over 5. So 1 over 5. And then this 5 cancels with this 60. It can become 12. So the number of minutes in 20% of a day will be 24 times 12, which is just 288. Alright, the ratio of koi to goldfish in my pond is 3:11, and there are 70 fish in the pond. How many goldfish do I have? So if we assume the amount of koi to be 3x, then goldfish will be 11x. So it's going to be 3x plus 11x is 70. So 14x is equal to 70, so x is equal to 5. So the amount of goldfish in the pond will be 11x, which is just going to be 11 times 5 or 55. So I have 55 goldfish in that case. Okay, so some marbles in a bag are red and the rest are blue. If one red marble is removed, then 1/7 of the remaining marbles are red. If two blue marbles are removed instead of one red, then 1/5 of the remaining marbles are red. How many marbles were in the bag originally? Okay, so if we let the amount of marbles that are red be R and the blue marbles be B, then if we remove one red marble, it's going to become R minus 1 over R plus B minus 1. This should be equal to 1/7. Or we're going to get 7R minus 7 is equal to R plus B minus 1. Okay. And then if we remove two blue marbles instead of one red, then 1/5 of the remaining marbles are red. So you're just going to keep the amount of red marbles, so it's going to stay as R. And the total number of marbles will become R plus B minus 2. And this should be equal to 1/5. So you're going to get 5R is equal to R plus B minus 2. And above we had R plus B minus 1 is equal to 7R minus 1. So if we add 1 to both sides, we're going to get 5R plus 1 is equal to R plus B minus 1. And you know that that's also equal to 7R minus 7. So you're going to get 5R plus 1 is equal to 7R minus 7. And then you're just going to get A is equal to 2R, so R is equal to 4. And if R is equal to 4, and you plug that into this equation, you're going to get 20 is equal to 2 plus B. So we have B is equal to 18. So the total number of marbles in the bag originally are going to be 18 plus 4, which is 22. Okay, proportions. If x and y are directly proportional, then you say x over y is constant. So if if x and y are directly proportional and x is equal to 5 when y is equal to 9, then you're gonna have 5 over 9 is equal to 10 over 18, which is true since they're directly proportional. If they're inversely proportional, then x times y is constant. And x is said to be jointly proportional to a group of other variables if x is directly proportional to each of those variables in turn, as all other variables are held constant. And also, distance is equal to speed times time. Okay, so here's a rate problem example. So it says Prima has a dentist appointment today at 11 o'clock. Usually she drives 45 miles per hour and it takes her 40 minutes. Instead of leaving her home at 10:20, she leaves at 10:30. What speed must she go to get there in time? You can use proportionality to solve this. Since distance is constant and time goes from 40 to 30 minutes, we are multiplying the time by 3/4. And since distance is equal to speed times time, and time is multiplied by 3/4, the speed must be multiplied by 4/3. So the speed becomes 45 times 4 over 3, or 60 miles per hour. Okay, so here's some example problems. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to work on them. Okay, let's discuss them. Alright, so the first question, it says S and T are directly proportional. If S is equal to 14 and T is equal to 12, what is S when T is equal to 7? Since S and T are directly proportional, we can say we can say S over T has to be constant. So 14 over 12 should be equal to the S in this case, and then over 7. You can cross multiply, you're going to get 98 over 12 is equal to S. Is equal to S, which is just 49 over 6. So that's our answer. 49 over 6. Okay, Jean rides her bike to work. The office is 8 miles from her home, and she rides at 12 miles per hour. At what time should she leave to get to work at 8 a.m.? So we talked about how distance is speed, is equal to speed times time. So distance in this case is 8 miles, and the speed is 12 miles per hour. So times t. And since the 12 is in miles per hour, our t is also going to be in hours. So t is just going to be 2 over 3, which is going to be 2 over 3 hours. And since there's 60 minutes in an hour, that's also just 40 minutes. So it's asking at what time should she leave to get to work at 8 a.m. Since it's going to take her 40 minutes, she should leave at 7:20 a.m. Okay. So this question says, Homer began peeling a pile of 44 potatoes at the rate 3 potatoes per minute. 4 minutes later, Christian joins and peels the potatoes at the rate 5 potatoes per minute. When they finish, how many potatoes had Christian peeled? So since Christian joins 4 minutes later, in those 4 minutes, Homer's gonna finish 3 times 4 potatoes, like finish peeling that many. So he's gonna finish peeling 12 potatoes before Christian even gets there. So now there's 32 potatoes left, and both Homer and Christian are working together. And every minute, Homer's peeling 3 and Christian's peeling 5. So essentially, every minute together they're peeling 8. So it's going to take them, first of all, it's going to take them 4 minutes to complete it, since they're peeling 8 every minute. And so they're working together for 4 minutes and they're done. So that means Christian's going to peel 5 times 4 potatoes, which will just be 20. So when they're finished, Christian has peeled 20 potatoes. Okay, so now we're going to talk about graphing lines. So this is known as the Cartesian plane. Wait, I'll just throw it here. So the Cartesian plane, the origin is the point where the x and y axis meet and is written as 0, 0. So the origin is going to be here. That's the origin, 0, 0. And then each time you move 1 square to the right, the x coordinate goes up by 1, and which will be this. This is the x coordinate. And when you go left 1, the x coordinate goes down by 1. And same goes with if you're moving up and down the y-axis. The y coordinate's going to change. So it's going to become like +1 if it's going up, and if you're going down, it's going to become -1. And points with both coordinates being integers are called lattice points. So like if I start at 0, 0 and I move 1 to the right, it's going to become 1, 0. That's kind of how it works. Okay. So the distance between 2 points A, B and C, D is known as the square root of C minus A squared plus D minus B squared. So let's just say like our point, we have a point right here. Like let's just say we're taking the origin and then we're taking this point. Sorry. So the distance between and this is 3, 2, this is 0, 0. So the distance between the 2 points will be 3 minus 0 squared plus 2 minus 0 squared, which will just be square root of 13. And the reason the formula is this is because if I have 2 points, I can just draw a right triangle between the 2 points. So it's just going to be the difference between their x coordinates, the difference between their y coordinates squared, and then that's your distance, right? Okay, so graphing linear equations. In the linear equation we had previously talked about, if we noticed, if you're given the equation like y is equal to 2x minus 6 and asked to find the solutions, there would be infinite solutions. We can graph these solutions in the Cartesian plane in the form of a line. And then another thing we notice is if we are given 2 points on a line and you want to find out how would you find like all the solutions that would satisfy that line. So what you do is you first find the slope of the 2 points between the 2 points. So basically, if our 2 points are x comma y and x1 comma y1, then the slope is given as y minus y1 over x minus x1. The slope tells us as x increases by 1 on the line, the y increases by the slope. So if this is like 2, every time x goes up by 1, y goes up by 2. If we have a large positive slope, then the line will be steep. And if you're small slope, if it's small positive, it will be like flat. A negative slope tells us that the graph is generally decreasing as x goes up. A slope of 0 means the line is horizontal, and a slope of undefined, it means the line is vertical. Because if it's vertical, x is not really changing. Now that you have a point and a slope, we could easily find the equation of the line. Let's look at an example. Let's just say you're told that the slope of a line is 5 and our point is 3 comma 2. You can also say, let there be some other point called x comma y. Then the slope of the line will be y minus 2, since it's y1 minus y minus y1. So let this be like y1. It's going to be y minus 2 over x minus 3 for any point x comma y on the line. And since this is equal to 5, you're going to get y minus 2 is equal to 5x minus 15, or y is equal to 5x minus 13. So that's the line you're looking at. Okay, the x-intercept is the point where the line hits the x-axis, or y is equal to 0. And the y-intercept is the point where the line hits the y-axis, or x is equal to 0. We could use this to write the equation of a line. If the slope is m and the y-intercept is 0 comma b, the equation of the line is y is equal to mx plus b. And also, perpendicular lines have the negative reciprocal slopes of each other. So like, if the slope of one line is x, the slope of the perpendicular line will be the negative reciprocal. So it's going to be negative 1 over x. And parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so here's some questions. I'll give you guys like 2 minutes to work on them. Okay, let's go over them. So the first question is, graph the line going through the points -5, 6 and 1, -2. So our points are -5, 6. So it'll be like right here. And then 1, -2. So what you would do, you could either find like some other points that'll be on the line. So you could like find the slope and find some other points that lie on the line. But I'm just gonna like draw a line between them because we don't have that much time. So it's no wait, let me fix this. It's gonna be like that's kind of how your line should look. So like a straight line between the 2 points. Okay, so the second question is find the midpoint of line segment PQ where P is -3, 7 and Q is 5, -12. So the midpoint is kind of like the point where you could say it's like equidistant from P and Q. So the distance from the midpoint to P is equal to the distance from the midpoint to Q, and it lies on this line as well. So in general, the formula for the midpoint of a line segment is you take the x coordinates and you sum them. So 5 plus -3 over 2, and that's going to be your x coordinate. So our x coordinate is just going to be 1, and our y coordinate is just going to be 7 plus -12 over 2, which is just -2.5. So our equation our midpoint is going to be 1, -2.5. Okay. This one says find the x-intercept and y-intercept of the line passing through 3, -7 and -3, 5. So first what I would do is I would find like the equation of the line. So to do that, you first find the slope, and the slope will be -7 minus 5 over 3 minus -3, which is just 6. So our slope's going to be -2. So our slope's -2. So our equation is going to be something like y is equal to -2x plus b. That's kind of how the general form will be. And like what I like to do is I just like plug in one of the x coordinates. So let's just say we plug -3 in. You're going to get 6 plus b is equal to 5. So b is just -1. So our equation of the line will be -2x minus 1. So that's our equation. So then you want to find the x-intercept and y-intercept. So your x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So you set y is equal to 0. So you're going to get 0 is equal to -2x minus 1. So 1 is equal to -2x. So x is equal to -12. So you would write your x-intercept as -12, 0. So that's your x-intercept. And then your y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So it's just going to be 0, -1. So this is our x-intercept and that's our y-intercept. So we're done. All right, here's some challenge questions. I'll give you guys like 2 minutes to work on them. Okay, let's begin. So our first question says, if the midpoint of a comma b and b comma a of the line going through a comma b and b comma a is x comma y, express y in terms of x. So our midpoint's going to be, wait, yeah. So our midpoint's just going to be a plus b over 2, because you just take the sum, and then this one's just going to be a plus b over 2 as well, because you're essentially just taking the averages. So, and it says express y in terms of x. So, well, y is just x, because a plus b over 2 is equal to a plus b over 2. Okay. 8 workers can clear 20 acres of a field in 3 days. How many workers are needed to clear 50 acres in 5 days? Okay, so what I do is, like, I think about it. So there's 20 acres that are done in 3 days. So that means every day, 20 over 3 acres are done. And since there's 8 workers, every day each worker finishes 20 over 24 acres. So it's asking, or you can just simplify this as 10 over 12 or 5 over 6 or 5 over 6. Okay, so then it says how many workers are needed to clear 50 acres in 5 days. So that means each day 10 acres need to be cleared. And since each worker finishes 5/6 of an acre each day, you can say that the number of workers needed will be 10 over 5 over 6. And that's just going to be 60 over 5. And that's just 12. So you need 12 workers. Okay, so this question says xy is equal to 2x plus 2y. Find 1 over x plus 1 over y. So 1 over x plus 1 over y. This is equal to xy over x plus y over xy. And you know xy is equal to 2x plus 2y. So if you like plug this into the bottom, you get this is equal to x plus y over 2x plus 2y. And you can just factor a 2 out from the denominator, and you're just going to get x plus y over 2 times x plus y. So that's just equal to half. So our answer is half. All right, thanks for watching. Remember to check the Alphademic YouTube channel if you would like to review the session again. And this is the YouTube channel right here. Thank you for coming. Okay, bye.